could I possibly do that to you guys? I forgot to start making a video of this. It's going to be a fairly simple adjustment and fix, but as you see, it's a 200 CE. It's an Epiphone with the classic Gibson body, rosewood neck, spruce body, and maple. The rest of it's maple, a top spruce. And it is acousto-electric. It has a nice little clever touch. Watch the lights. Ooh, isn't that cute? Just switch it on again. Ooh. Anyway, it's in not bad condition. It's got some bits and pieces on it, but it's a beautiful guitar. Epiphone do make some nice guitars, and everything's in lovely condition. It needs a good cleaning. It hasn't been played in a while I don't think so. But let me go through the rest of it on the other camera, and you can see it's a basic setup. You see, I slap myself here. I took the strings off and I put some fret oil on that, and then I thought, oh, I better make a video of this because the guys and gals might like to see the before and after finish. There's been lots of play in it. That fretboard, beautiful neck, but there's been a fair amount of play on it, so one or two frets may need to be scraped a bit. Overall, it's quite dirty, but other than that, we'll see as we go along. I haven't really done a thorough investigation yet. I don't know how I can get anything done if you're going to fall asleep on my back. This is not the way. Oh, are you going to make your decision now to move? Or you just don't want to be? Oh no, you're going to settle down again. Oh, you've decided. Thank you, and I can get some work done. My goodness. I'm never happy with my camera positions, but I think that's about the best I can do. This is what I call my Elvis guitar. You know, this is the kind of guitar that Elvis would play in the 50s, an Epiphone. Beautiful guitar, well made, certainly a jumbo guitar. A couple of interesting things on it that I missed in the intro. It's got two jack plugs, mono and stereo. Right? I don't know whether you can see them. Let me just bring them up to you so you can see them a bit better. Mono and stereo. Now, the way the mono and stereo work is quite clever. There's a pickup mic onto there, and there's a mag pickup there, and when you have the stereo, you have them both going out slightly to different channels. When you're in mono, it's both. So it's a lovely sound, and it's got a great little built-in tuner. The one thing God, it's cold today, so I'm sniffing, forgive me. The one thing I do love and hate are these curves, because I would say 90% of the guitars that I get with a sunken neck have got that curve in it. 85%. So when I put a straight edge on that, it's touching the bridge. Well, it's just barely touching the bridge. So that means that the body, well, maybe it was built this way, but I don't know. But to me, the body is going down in, and the support's not there with this kind of neck on it. So on this one, it's got an amazingly thick bridge, but there's not much I can do with it because it's got a saddle underneath it with a pickup built into it. So the only thing I can do, the neck has got a bulge in the middle, a little bit of a bulge in the middle, and that needs to be loosened a bit. But that's not going to give you a great deal of movement in it, and it's still going to be problematical. Now, that is the pickup, believe it or not. Yeah, that is a pickup. It's as thin as anything. Excellent. Good pickup. There's nothing more I can do to bring that bridge down. So the only thing I can do to give this guitar better action is to bring the saddle down a little bit. And there's not much in it. I don't have a lot of room in the saddle. As you can see, I can bring it down a bit. but I can't bring it down a lot. The other saving grace is that this is a guitar that will be played mostly up at this end. There's not going to be a great deal of excitement down at this end. I can see the wear patterns show that down there is about as far as it's been played. So that's fine. And so we'll get this guitar a good player. I'll just check the frets, but we'll get a good player. But I do wish they'd find a way to strengthen the bodies a bit better on these guitars. But I do like the style of the Epiphone an awful lot. Really, this is an EJ, and I'm sure that means something to somebody. I like fixing guitars, but I'm not what you would call an aficionado of guitars. I couldn't tell you that it's la 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 la, it fits in with blah 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 blah. I tell you what I can find on the internet, and I can tell you what I like, and I like this. So what I'm going to do is boring stuff, but I'll come back to you when I've done the boring stuff. That there, I'm just going to sand it down. I'm going to sand down a little bit, put that back in, see how far I need to sand it down, mark it with a pencil, which I'm going to do right this second, which gives me, you can see how much I can shave off it, and what I can shave off it is only from there to there, a tiny bit, because that marks roughly the top. A little bit high because of the width of the pencil, but if I can only take off a sliver, put it like that, maybe that much of a difference from the bottom. And no, the pickup's flat. Sorry, the saddle's flat. Now you won't see a lot of difference, but it's about the width of a fly's penis. I've taken off it. Maybe the thickness of a pencil line I've taken off it. Now the next stage is to clean up the frets, and then when we go to do this bit, I'll probably take little grooves off that to bring it down further, but I don't want to bring it down too far, then I ruin the bridge and the strings start touching this, ruin the saddle and start touching the bridge. So I'm going to move the camera over to let you see the neck now. Okay, we have a lot of wear and tear there. Let me just see if I can bring you to see that. Let me just see. You see it? There's a lot of wear and tear on that particular fret. I don't want to have to scrape. Also, there's a little bit of wear and tear on that fret. I'm going to try to scrape that fret without having to scrape the whole fretboard, because I just want to get some of those grooves. It's almost like, if you look closely at it, it's almost like somebody's had long nails when they're playing this, because it's actually scratches, deep scratches into it. There's a deep scratch there. I don't know whether you can see it or not. And there's scratches there. It's like somebody with really hard nails, or maybe they've used some sort of tool when they're playing, although I can't think what it would be. But I'm going to try scraping that. I'm dubious about scraping it, because if I start scraping it, I may have to scrape the whole neck. And I've done so much scraping this week that drives me nuts. Now there's a nice clean blade there that I haven't used yet. So let me just see, can you see? No, you can't see me scraping. If you're going to see me scraping at all, let me just see what we can do when we... You know, I don't think I'm going to get away with just doing a couple of frets. The other thing that puts me off doing the whole guitar is because the mother of pearl on it is so massive on this. That's nice. Now I'm going to try that one. Let me just use my miniature vacuum cleaner that I bought for £15, which I'm very happy with. I must someday put a link down below. I'm going to try this one with the mother of pearl. The mother of pearl's sitting up, I can tell. So Mother of pearl will show it if you don't have a sharp blade, because it'll jerk across it. And you can't use sandpaper on this because you can't get the sandpaper to go the way you want it. Doing that with sandpaper doesn't get you close to the fret, and it doesn't get you, it doesn't take up enough, even if you're using too much, and blah blah blah. Use a very sharp blade. Now the scratches are vacuum cleaner. Scratches are barely seeable. And just missed a bit here. And there. Yeah, I'm not going to get away with it. I'm going to have to do the whole fretboard. Scrape it. Oh well, in for a penny, in for a pound. If I oil that now and oil the whole thing, you'll see the difference between the frets because there's dirt on it. I don't know whether you can see there. There's dirt. Can you see it if I turn it? There's dirt all over it. So here we go with scraping. Vacuum cleaner. When you're doing this, you have to have a pretty steady hand and not press too hard into it to undermine the fret. All you're doing is taking away the dirt. You might have noticed somewhere there I used my left hand, which is not just as steady, and it actually went like that. It caught a bit of wood and jumped across, and I had to go and scrape again just to take away the line. So it needs a very steady hand, not too much pressure, just a little bit of pressure. You're pressing that way rather than into the wood, you're pressing that way. So vacuum cleaner again. There's a little bit there. Now I'm going to check it all again, because what you need to do now is check to make sure you haven't left any on it, like, you know, the edges too have to be checked just a little. You can actually feel better if you're very light on it. You can feel the edges to see if you've left any, what do you call it, like machine gun. I don't think I have in this instance. I'm just going to go down the edges because it looks fine. So what I'm going to do after this, just these, is I'm going to use just a tiny touch there, right? I'm going to use a flat leveling sandpaper tool. Right, okay, that's fine. Before I do anything more, wrap it up with some 800 paper. Now, I've learned my lesson a few times that I'm going to throw away sandpaper once I've used it. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going a little bit of fret leveling and polishing. This is just very, very basically reduced water with a touch of soap. And if I said it a million times, I've said it, I'll say it again. Don't put too much water on, and don't leave the water on, because it'll sink underneath the frets and you could damage your frets. eventually. I don't think anybody goes that far, but just in case there's somebody out there that might say, oh, I'll give it a good soaking, leave it overnight. That's not the do. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Let me just rub down the edges. Okay, now dry it a bit. I can use my nails to get into the frets to dry it a bit. Right, now there you go. I'm going to do my favorite bit now with Dunlop 65 fretboard oil. And this has become my favorite because you got much more control over how much you put on with that little head on it. I used to use, I forget which it was, but if you don't have that control on it, then you waste a lot. And I'm an old pensioner. I can't afford to waste it. So, and yes, I'm using my fingers, even though there's a pile of chemicals in the lemon oil, but I can feel it better. And I wash my hands right away. I'm one of these fanatics that washes their hands constantly. I had to do it the other day because I was using a lot of acetone to remove that the paint off a Gibson. But eventually I found myself a little pair of gloves, which I'm going to buy more of, maybe in a bigger size though. So I'm letting that oil sit on the top, cleaning up any residue around it. I'm going to let that sit 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, and then come along and polish it off. There you go, that's it, polished off. It's maybe still a little bit damp, but as you can see, it's an awful lot better looking, and you'd be happy to use that without any scratches and anything like that. So that's a lot better. Now there's still a little. I just finished polishing. Now I'm going to work on the head. Just get the neck the way I want it. Oh, stiff, stiff, stiff. Hence the reason for using the proper screwdriver if it gets stiff. No rust, just well and truly into the wood, which is a good sign. A lot of guitars just make an absolute mess of this area. A little bit of care goes a long way to get it right. Right, I'm going to switch you off while I find the right Allen key. That didn't take long, the first Allen key I found, did it? Hey! Right, so I want to loosen. So let's loosen this. Give it, that's it. It didn't have too much on it. And it must have been like this from the day it began because it's not loosening. Okay, there's no tension on the Allen key, so that's about as loose as I want to go. So we'll let it sit. I think the strings will do the rest. I do have a little bit of a gap there now, but not nearly as much as I'd like. But there's not much I can do about it because there's no more play on the Allen key. Because the Allen key is as loose as I'm going to make it. So I'll just clean up the head. Same screwdriver, that one's a little bit loose. I think Grover makes these tuners, don't they? The Gibson tuners. One of the better is TrussRod covers. The first one for ages, and it feels nice. Okay, going to move the camera now. Check the truss, check the neck. I wonder if I'm being too fussy here, but can you see, there you go. You can see the dullness. Just all around there's a dullness, even though I've oiled it. I'm going to try to put a little bit of a sheen on that. Yeah, I think I got a bit of a sheen on it, makes it look much better. All I did was just use a bit of a tissue with some crystal clear lacquer on it and just rubbed it on it. Just takes away that little bit of a dullness. Now you can see I got a lot to work with there. It's too high, which is good, and I've got something to work with there because the body, the strings are too high. Let me just tighten that up to about, the strings don't look high, but they're a bit high, but I can bring them down a bit, and I've got some room to work there where I can file down the strings and into the grooves a bit. Now, you can't see much, but I can tell you. Let's just see when I put the straight edge on. We've got, if anything, it's just a little hair's breadth better. So my next job would be to put the strings in, and then I can file away at the bridge and get the best action I can, and then I can maybe file away, that's bone, I can file away at that to get the action down and bring it down as low as I can. I'm not going to go crazy on the action on this, I just wanted a little bit better player. So the first thing I'm going to do before I start to work on the nut or the saddle is get it in tune. And I do that because I need the tension on the neck to find out where it's going to. Because if I didn't get it in tune and the necks were all loose and I just did one string at a time, then the neck would be not where it would be finally played. Not bad. Those are out of whack. I must fix that. Right. I don't know what other people do, but I know what I do. So I'll show you what I do. To get the strings the lowest possible, I use a set of feeler gauges. Hello, Georgie girl. Oh, Georgie girl wants cuddles. Georgie girl wants cuddles. So Georgie girl gets cuddles and you have to wait. Sorry, boys and girls. The pussycat has needs. She had to get cuddles. Right, what I do is I have an old set of feeler gauges, right, and I put them onto the fret of the first string, and I want them to be exactly the same height as the fret. And the way I determine that is not just by feel, but by looking at the light underneath it to see if I can see light under it. Now I want it exactly the right height. This is what I do anyway. I want it exactly the right height, and if it's too high I'll take a little bit away, and that's just about the right height, right? So then I take that up to the end. This has already been done, so I should be showing you on another string, but I take it right up to the end, and then I use my nut file, not very good ones, that takes it right down till it touches that. Can you see the little mark on it? That takes it right down. So that nut file is exactly the same height as that fret. But because the guitar strings are at an angle, you get a very nice little action on it. So I'm going to do that with this. I'm going to check the fret level on each one, just to be sure. It's a little bit low. So you can actually go a little bit high if you're afraid. So loosen that string off. I've ordered a set of fret files, but they're so expensive. They're 148 quid for a set, so I'm having to buy the cheap set fret files because I can't afford the 148. So I take this, I keep it parallel. I keep this parallel, so even if I press hard, I'm not going to go past the metal. I'll hit the metal, but I won't go any further. You see, I've hit the metal. That means it's exactly the same, and I haven't taken, well, I've taken a bit off the metal, but you can afford to do that. So then, just before I finish, I take it from parallel to an angle. Careful that I don't hit the headstock, and just give myself So the main point of intonation will be there and not the whole flat part. So your nut would be slightly at an angle and your string would be there. So that's where the intonator would be. So I'm going to carry on doing this. As you can see, I don't have the best tools for that, but I can't afford 148 quid. Now, was one other little thing I was going to tell you. What was I going to tell you? I was going to tell you something, but I've forgotten what I was going to tell you. Oh yes, when I finished, I will be taking down the whole nut, the whole way down, so that the string is just sitting in the groove. It is not buried in the groove. The string shouldn't be buried like that. I can't take you any closer. The string almost should, half of it should be out, half of it should be in, so there's no cause for vibration. So that's the way I do it anyway. So whenever I finish setting all the strings to the right height, I'll take a file and bring the whole nut down. Right, now I'm going to bring the whole thing down with just an ordinary file. Just an ordinary file, but don't go down too far. Now again, I'm not going to go crazy, but what I am going to do is I'm going to take away any edges there. So I'm just going to go around it. Be careful if you're doing this on your own guitar, because some guitars have got bits that stick out there. So you may end up scratching your guitar if you're not careful. Now just for looks, I'm going to bevel this edge a bit. Hopefully you can see there, maybe the middle, a bit more in the middle. Yeah, that looks okay. Now, a little bit of 800 sandpaper to give it a buff, take away any file marks and make it look shiny. Shiny, 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 shiny. Right, where's the brush? What did I do with the brush? Where did I set the brush? Oh, there it is there. So, lots of dust, but we'll not worry about that. Now, as you can see, when we put the strings in, the strings are sitting on top, but not embedded in. And it's a nice neat job, fairly straightforward to do, and let me just see, we've got great action across that. That one could come down just a notch, just a little touch. So I'm going to do this by eye. I'm going to do this by eye, and this is when you start to get fussy and you make a mistake, so let's not go too crazy. Oh, I blew it, and I didn't want to blow it. Action is superb. Let's just check that one. Yes, the action across there is superb. And let me just check that. I'm going to bring the E string down a little bit more. beautiful. This is where the vacuum cleaner can't help you on the guitar, unfortunately, although I do have a brush for it. So that gives me a nice action right across it. I don't know whether you can or not, but you can see the action on the first fret, which is the main thing that I'm thinking of. Yeah. And the cure, if you go too low, it's pretty straightforward. You need a spare bone nut somewhere, but say that was too low, you just loosen the string, put a little bit of bone dust in there. You can take another bone nut and get a little bit of dust, put a bit of bone dust in there and press it in, put a drop of super glue in, and then you can file it back to where you want it again, because super glue works wonderfully with bone dust. And the bone dust you get from a spare nut that you have lying around. So that's nice and smooth at the edges, lovely action. Not going to worry too much about the action down the guitar. I've decided not to play too much with it. Actually, it's pretty good, but I'm not going to play with it too much. Actually, I'm not going to play with it at all because it's too good. So I'm going to tidy up now and get this thing in tune and let you hear a little tune. Hear Elvis singing in the background. Oh, it's alright, Mama. That's alright with you. That's alright, Mama. Anything you do, it's alright. It's alright. It's alright now, Mama. Take it with you do. Yeah, I can tell I'm not a Elvis singer. He plays a lot of little tunes on this. Nice guitar, lovely. Oh, we've all got a little bit of Elvis in us. Actually, that doesn't sound quite right, does it? Say goodbye to the guitar. It's away back to its daddy and mommy, and it's all looking beautiful. Bye-bye, bye-bye.